Oh, there we go.
Thank you for the intro, and thank you, Leigh Day, for having us. It's an honor to be amongst all of you, and you're so inspiring, and we are honored to be here. So thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. So first off, to introduce ourselves, although that was an amazing introduction, and I'm glad I wouldn't have to explain we're not sisters, as we're presumed to be every day. Yeah, I'm Megan, just to correct you all there, and this is Whitney. So we do have slightly different accents, which might help. She is American.
I'm American. I'm from the South originally, but I kind of developed an English twang, so my accent is a bit of a mashup, but that's how you can tell us apart.
Yes, so as I said, we're LGBTQ+ content creators. We have been online since 2009, so we are very the OGs.
We met when we were 5.
Yeah, so we've actually been together 14 years as of yesterday. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, and you know, I put our faces online with a blog initially in 2009, mainly due to the lack of lesbian visibility in the media. We certainly didn't have anyone to look up to when we were growing up, and I thought if we could at least put ourselves out there, we might help 1 or 2 other people come to terms with their sexual orientation or come out. We had no idea that it would ultimately lead to our career, which is absolutely amazing. So we've always been online to use our faces, as you will, for good, and therefore we have moved into being LGBTQ+ activists.
Yes, so as Megan said, we've been together for 14 years as of yesterday. So in 2020, we felt, you know, that was the perfect year to expand our family. Little did we know we had COVID amongst us, and we really didn't know what that year entailed. We were very excited to expand our family, as we've always wanted children together as a couple. And we started looking into it. And the first thing that we saw was just such a lack of information from the very beginning. So we really didn't know where to start because there was such a lack of representation as well. So initially we thought, you know, to expand our family, we could do home insemination, which sounded like a lovely idea, in the intimacy of our home and avoiding a clinical setting, you know, at all costs. And then shortly after our, you know, excitement, we were made aware that in 2005, they banned, they made it illegal for sperm from a sperm bank to be shipped to the home. And we always knew that we wanted to have donor sperm. So that quickly was a rabbit hole we went down that kind of set off our fight for equality.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so we discovered multiple barriers in place and ultimately discrimination. Well, we thought it was, and Leigh Day said, yes, it is, which is wonderful. So yeah, we decided to try, firstly, use our influence, if you will, to try and create awareness and change. So we did this firstly with a fertility equality petition. It is on change.org. It did create really good awareness. It was in the press, but unfortunately we didn't reach the amount that it needed to go to be debated by the government. So we decided to take one little step further and hired Leigh Day to take legal action. So that launched in November 2021, so nearly a year ago, which is crazy. We also spoke in Parliament earlier this year about the issues that we face, and then ultimately the Women's Health Strategy came out recently, so we'll touch on all of these points.
So yeah, we initially, like Megan said, there was an unfair, financial burden that was being placed on the LGBTQ+ community, and single women as well. And what that means is, it's very complicated, but to simplify it really. So in order for an LGBT couple to receive funding on the NHS, you have to self-fund 6 to 12 rounds, and we found that it's 12 rounds in our area, of IUI before you are then eligible for 1 free round of IVF. And to put that into monetary value with the cost of donor sperm, you're looking at around, anywhere from 25 to 50,000 pounds, which has been called a gay tax, just to receive an equal playing field of the same requirement that the heterosexual couples are able to receive, which is 2 years of unprotected sex with no evidence. And although we know that is very challenging, my sister-in-law, Megan's sister, went through IVF, and we saw that was, it was very emotionally challenging for her, but there was no financial cost at that as well.
So this is where the discrimination comes into play, where clearly you can see there was a huge unfair financial burden on the LGBTQ+ community. In particular, though, we are talking about female same-sex couples. Obviously, gay male couples also have a really high bill, basically, for surrogacy, but we unfortunately cannot advocate for them. So just to go into some of the more of the barriers, obviously we touched upon home insemination, and there's also what's known as the postcode lottery, and this doesn't apply just solely to the LGBTQ+ community, it's also to the heterosexual community, and that's basically in England, now integrated care boards, ICBs, but I might say CCGs, choose how to obviously delegate the NHS funding in their areas, and this literally means that people who live in different postcodes are eligible to different amounts of funding. Even amongst our policy area where we live, we're not entitled to any funding, and not too far down the road, a same-sex female couple are. So that's just one example. And there's also discrimination in what's known as shared motherhood or reciprocal IVF. So this is, for example, if Whitney wanted me to carry her child, which we may do one day, she is treated as if she is a donor, and we have to pay for her to be screened in order for me to carry her child. You could look at the equivalent of this with a heterosexual couple going into a fertility clinic where the husband or man is donating his sperm and he isn't treated in the same way. They don't have to pay for that. So it's, you know, clear divide there again that really needs to be looked at. And on to our legal action. Do you want to go ahead? Or will I keep speaking?
No, yeah. So we were honored to meet Leigh Day, for starters, and in 2021 we instructed for Leigh Day to basically take our cause and what's the word I'm looking for, Megan? To take legal action towards what we're doing, and we are so grateful for Jude and Marlena for really helping us fight the good fight, and for B as well. Like without them, they really helped our case amplify. And it was also the media who turned it into a positive light, which they can also often be not so supportive of issues like this. So
we launched a judicial review in November 2021, which is crazy that it's nearly a year ago. Our legal case is still ongoing, but when it launched, as Whitney said, we were really pleased to see that it was really positively received in the press. We literally probably were featured in every single publication there is, and every single one was positive, which was great.
Which we were not prepared for. It's like a scene in a movie when you wake up one morning and you have no idea what's going on. Your phone is ringing off the hook with everyone you've ever spoken to.
How did you get my number?
And we were not prepared. We literally said we are doing no live interviews, and there we were the next morning ready to go. We're like, we have to do this. Exactly. So it was really a whirlwind, and it really gave us the confidence to keep going, because it was really well received, and we realized, we're not doing this just for us, it's for the greater community. The messages that we've received from our followers were absolutely heartbreaking, and is one of also the reasons that we did it. For instance, we heard of someone who was £100,000 in debt, and they had only, I think, unsuccessfully done 3 rounds of IUI, and they couldn't afford to carry on the 6 rounds required, so they were left in debt and without the family they dreamed of. And that's just one example. Yes,
exactly. The reason we took legal action, as Whitney said, isn't for ourselves. We knew it wouldn't necessarily be applicable to me. I am now 35. Old according to the NHS, so under my policy I'm now too old to receive
which is another issue,
but the case is still ongoing, so we'll see. But so for us, we are going ahead with our fertility treatment privately. We recently just done our first round of IUI, which unfortunately resulted in a chemical pregnancy, but again, we use our platform to try and highlight and create awareness. So we recently posted about this, and a lot of people are commenting saying they've been through the same, which really helps support us as well going through something like that. So yeah, as we said, it launched I said 2022, there's 2021, last year, and the case is still ongoing. So fingers crossed, there may be some movement soon. We shall see.
So yes, the Women's Health Strategy, it was such amazing news. And for a while, Megan and I didn't have any updates about the case. We didn't know if the government were listening. We really did not know what was in store. And we always joked, we're just going to get the news on an idle Tuesday out of the blue. And sure enough, Megan was having fertility acupuncture. I think it was a Tuesday. Out of the blue, we got this email about, the Women's Health Strategy and what it's proposing. And first of all, we couldn't believe it. There was so much good coming out of one strategy for women, for one, which was amazing. And we were over the moon, because essentially the government announced, its plans to remove the additional barriers that we have to go through, which were self-funding 6 to 12 rounds of artificial insemination.
Exactly, yes. They've announced that they will be removing the financial barriers to proving fertility status. So this is when it's very difficult to understand, but it comes down to the fact that we are socially infertile, and say a heterosexual couple is medically infertile, but no matter how much we try, we cannot create a child. No matter how much heterosexual couples try, they cannot create a child. So we are essentially the same, and we are de facto infertile. So finally, the NHS are recognising that we don't need to prove that we are infertile because of the fact that obviously we can't create a child together. I don't know why we have to go through these rounds and prove it, but there we go. And even on that vein, people who have polycystic ovaries, for example, already know that they have issues in infertility because they are in a same-sex female relationship. They're told they have to go self-fund IUI to prove that they're infertile when they already know they are. And they're often told it's because their lifestyle choice, which is obviously just horrible. And we hear a lot of horror stories. And equally, because of the unfair financial burden that is still currently in place, we also hear a lot of horror stories about women who cannot afford to go down the private route. Buying sperm from a sperm bank is expensive. We didn't know until we started. And for example, one vial, that's 0.5 milliliters, costs over £1,000. And that's per round of you trying. So that's equivalent of you just trying at home once a month. As a heterosexual couple. So for us, I think we purchased about 5 vials to have ready, but we want to have the same donor for both of us. We don't know if we're going to have to purchase more. And for a lot of women, the cost of sperm is impossible, let alone then having to pay for the IUI, which is over £1,000 as well. So each round you're looking at least over 2,000, maybe 500, depending on medication. So unfortunately, what we found out is a lot of people going down dangerous routes in order to find sperm donors online. These men, some may be nice, maybe a little bit, but majority of them are preying on vulnerable women. They are coming into their homes and they are essentially forcing them to have what they call like natural conception in order to conceive. And a lot of these women are so vulnerable and desperate that they go along with it, but essentially they're being raped. And not only that, then they can also come for the rights of their child. We get messages from my followers saying, oh, I found a donor on Facebook, just have a look on Facebook. I was like, no, that's not where I'm going to find the donor for my child. Equally, they're not being medically screened. So they have no idea what type of sperm they're getting. And also they may have a private contract drawn up, but that won't hold up in court. So they're really putting themselves and their child into a dangerous situation. So that really was another reason why we really wanted to take legal action to try and create change. Sorry, going back to women's health strategy though. So yes, we're really pleased that the government have announced that they're going to remove these barriers. Obviously, we're having a lot of questions from our followers about it. And unfortunately, I don't have a direct line to find out the answers, but we have been told by a reporter that the government have said they intend this to take effect from April next year. So everyone hold the government accountable, please. We're counting down at those days because obviously, as we all know, with fertility, every day goes by, we're getting slightly older. So not everyone can wait, unfortunately, to next year, but we're very excited still.
And what do we want to see? We definitely want the government to commit to this because, it's 2022. We have the right as women, we have this right that's been taken away from us. So I definitely think we need to get up with the times and they need to commit to doing this. And also the postcode lottery just needs to be removed. It is just so unjust across the board.
Yes, in the women's health strategy, they said they're going to provide transparency around it because it also is very hard often to find out what you're entitled to in your area, particularly for a same-sex female couple. BPAS actually helped us by doing 2 freedom of information requests so we could even find out what our eligibility criteria is in our area. And that actually answered 6 rounds. But then when we took our legal case, it turned out it's 12, which was lovely. So even then we would have been wrong in thinking we had to self-fund 6 rounds. And then it turned out that we were 6 short, which is really, really frustrating. We really love for there to be formal training for NHS staff, particularly focused around care for LGBTQ+ parents. We often hear from others that there's wrong terminology being used, often asked, well, where's the dad, but who's the real dad, but who's the real mum? All these questions that, not what you want to be hearing every time you go in to have a checkup with the doctor and all those type of things. So we would love to see that happen.
And then also we would like data to be collated as well, separating the stats, because the stats, for instance, for a couple like us, for instance, same-sex female couple going for IUI will be very different for a straight couple who are having infertility issues. So they tend to lump the data into one, it's not separate. So statistically, the rates of us, having a successful pregnancy of IUI are not very good, but we actually think they are quite good. It's just that the data is, it's just kind of just lumped into one and we need separate data.
It was actually our fertility consultant that actually made us aware of this because literally everyone else we speak to kind of in the field goes, oh, but you do know the low rate with IUI, don't you? And I'm like, yes, because that's focusing on heterosexual infertile couples. And, you know, obviously we did have our first IUI, technically was successful for a few days, but we know a lot of lesbian couples who are successful from the first round, which is great. But equally, obviously, we can all take many rounds and we have no idea what our future is ahead. So it would just be nice if we could actually see that data. And I think that's it. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.